Received this afternoon a message from the Japanese government in reply to the message forwarded to that government by the Secretary of State on August 11th. I deem this reply a full acceptance of the Potsdam Declaration, which specifies the unconditional surrender of Japan. In the reply, there is no qualification. Arrangements are now being made for the formal signing of the surrender terms at the earliest possible moment. General Douglas MacArthur has been appointed the Supreme Allied Commander to receive the Japanese surrender. Great Britain, Russia, and China will be represented by high-ranking officers. Meantime, the Allied armed forces have been ordered to suspend offensive action. The proclamation of VJ Day must await upon the formal signing of the surrender terms by Japan.
Hiroshima, the encounter of the atomic bomb. Harry S. Truman decided to bomb Hiroshima in Japan because he wanted to prevent American casualties. The atomic bomb changed history, exploring the use of atomic warfare, encountering the devastating results of the effects in civilization, and exchanging the lives of many Japanese citizens for the end of World War II. The Americans tried to avoid war because they didn't want casualties, but the Japanese made a big mistake, soon resulting in the Americans joining World War II. At 8 a.m. on December 7, 1941, Japan flew over Pearl Harbor in Hawaii with their plan to destroy the enemy fleet. This plan succeeded, with Japan destroying 8 gigantic battleships and 300 airplanes. That wasn't it. Nearly 2,500 people died from the bombings. President Franklin D. Roosevelt declared war soon after on Japan, but it turned out the Americans weren't just fighting Japan now. They'd be fighting Japan's allies, the Germans and Italians. 4 years later, the war was near an end, but that wasn't the only thing near its end. President Franklin D. Roosevelt died of polio on April 12, 1945, in Warm Springs, Georgia. America rushed Vice President Harry S. Truman into presidency, becoming the 33rd president. Truman continued for an end to World War II. Leo Szilard wrote a letter to Franklin D. Roosevelt about Germany's recent exploration of nuclear warfare. This would soon start the Manhattan Project, a secret military project created in 1942, led by Robert J. Oppenheimer and General Leslie R. Groves, with the intention of exploring nuclear warfare in secrecy. There was a variety of problems, though. Would the U.S. be able to create the atomic bomb in time and save themselves? The Americans were struck with luck, with Germany unconditionally surrendering on May 7, 1945, leaving Japan to be the only country left in the war. America now had an atomic bomb in their arsenal and had the upper hand. President Harry S. Truman knew how courageous and determined the Japanese were, so he went with the fast and easy route to lower American casualties and bomb Hiroshima and Japan. Or was he? Leo Szilard, the one who started the Manhattan Project, was now against it. Szilard made a petition to not bomb Japan. He got 70 signatures and was trying very hard to stop the massacre that was going to happen. Sadly, Truman never received the petition and Japan was in trouble.
He knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
The world will note that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, a military base. We won the race of discovery against the Germans. We have used it in order to shorten the agony of war, in order to save the lives of thousands and thousands of young Americans. We shall continue to use it until we completely destroy Japan's power to make war.
President Harry S. Truman offered Japan to surrender from the havoc that was going to arise. Sadly, Japan declined twice with their courageous dying before losing attitude. This led to the bombing of Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. At 8:15 a.m. above Hiroshima was a moment of truth. The 15,000-ton TNT bomb, Little Boy, was dropped onto Hiroshima, and many Japanese citizens encountered the devastating results to civilization. Like Setsuko Thurlow, who was just a typical schoolgirl back in 1945 when she experienced Hiroshima being bombed. She saw people with their skin and flesh hanging from their bones, people dying, and people suffering from the effects of radiation. So she decided to help them. She did her best to support the people who experienced the bombs because she wasn't affected much. Setsuko now shares her stories with people and is against nuclear weapons. I turned around and saw the outside world. Although it was morning, it looked like dawn due to the amount of smoke in the air. People from a distance saw the mushroom cloud and heard a deafening roar, but I did not see the cloud because I was in it. I did not hear the thunder, but the deadly silence that was broken only by the injured sighs.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. That bomb has more power than 20,000 tons of TNT. The Japanese began the war from the air at Pearl Harbor. They have been repaid many-fold, and the end is not yet. With this bomb, we have now added a new and revolutionary increase in destruction to supplement the growing power of our armed forces. In their present form, these bombs are now in production, and even more powerful forms are in development. It is an atomic bomb. It is a harnessing of the basic power of the universe. The force from which the sun draws its power has been loosed against those who brought war to the Far East. We have spent more than $2 billion on the greatest scientific gamble in history, and we have won. But the greatest marvel is not the size of the enterprise, its secrecy, or its cost, but the achievement of scientific brains in making it work.
5 days later, Emperor Hirohito of Japan accepts the U.S. terms of surrender. This catastrophic bomb was a quick end to World War II and exchanged the lives of around 150,000 Japanese citizens, adding to the already humongous death toll from World War II, resulting in 40 million to 50 million casualties. If a bomb like Little Boy were to be dropped on a place such as Minneapolis, Minnesota now, it would result in an estimated 55,000 casualties and injuring another 55,000 people. After the bombings, many diseases such as leukemia and cancer started appearing in survivors, and it was assumed that the Japanese had an increase in anemia among people exposed to the bomb. 71 years later, the world is in a better state. We've learned from our mistakes, and the world shall never use atomic weapons in war again. Hiroshima has been repaired and built better than ever before. Every year now, on August 6th in Peace Memorial Park in Hiroshima, the Japanese hold a ceremony to commemorate the people who died in the atomic bombings. The bombing of Hiroshima was the event that changed the world forever.